Hello and welcome back to the podcast Becoming Cyber. I'm your host, Howard Cosmonaut Palmer, and each and every week we talk about cybersecurity, AI, Gen AI, and the Internet of Things. This week we have Romain Sinclair. Small spoiler alert, I'm related to Romain. So it is someone that I know, it is someone that I love, it is someone that I grew up with. But the value of this individual is that he recently completed his CCNA certification and he is on the path to becoming a network engineer in the cybersecurity industry in this field with everything AI, Gen AI, and the Internet of Things. So we are taking the time today to really learn about Romain, what his reasons and rhymes and purposes is and are in this space of cybersecurity, and really just make it simpler or maybe even understand him more. So, without further ado, let's talk to Romain Sinclair. Romain, how you doing?
I'm doing well, Howard. Thanks for having me, man.
Yeah, listen, I appreciate it. As you know, I'm really big on this industry in network engineering. That's my focus. If you look at cybersecurity, I look at it as having two sides, an application slash development side and a hardware infrastructure network engineering side. You and I both are on that side. You recently obtained your CCNA. I obtained mine years ago. So we won't have to talk about who's probably smarter in this instance with Cisco. Cisco did just do a major layoff. So it is definite that this knowledge is needed as much as it's continued to be a reason in our industry.
Yeah.
So my first question remain is how you feeling? How's your mental health?
Oh man, feeling good. Very optimistic in terms of just like day to day life and the outlook of everything. Especially after getting my certification, I feel really
Yeah.
good about that.
Did it feel like there was a weight lifted off your shoulder or what? How did that feel for you?
Absolutely. I remember just when I took the exam and got done, I sat there for a good maybe 5 or 10 minutes, just looking at the
Mm,
screen, saying, congratulations, you passed. Because a lot of work went into that, like a lot of like late evenings studying, sacrificing weekends studying, just a lot. And so I'm very, very happy that I was able to cross that hurdle.
positive. And you mentioned that you basically had a training plan or a game plan going into it. But now that you are an official Cisco certified network administrator and associate, and you're certified and you're ready to apply and you're going, what does that mean to you? Why did you want to get CCNA certified?
Yeah, definitely. Because I don't know if you recall when I first mentioned I was interested in this field, you told me, hey, if you want to pursue cybersecurity, the best approach is to get understand the fundamentals, and the fundamentals is the network. And so it was important just understanding that and just going through the process. Can't really skip uh, you can't skip or skip steps and expect to really have that knowledge and skill in that area. So
Mhm.
getting the certification was super important because it solidified that I do have at least a basic understanding of what the network is, how it
Yeah,
functions, and even just how to configure it and maintain it as well. So the certification to me was a huge learning process, which I needed to go through to actually understand everything that's going on around us.
powerful. No, and I will tell you, with my years of experience and even having the same thought in conversation, shortcuts aren't the way to go. It's one thing to get the answers, but it's the other thing to actually take the time to learn the material.
Yeah.
And in an industry like cybersecurity and the Internet of Things for devices that communicate across large infrastructure with different protocols, different routing, the way traffic traverses, just being able to speak certain language or understand it, or being open to that lifelong learning that we are all kind of being introduced now with the Gen AI and cybersecurity as a whole.
Hmm.
Really good to hear that, man. I applaud you every time we talk, that. And I really, sometimes I wish to switch spaces with you because it's like if I could go back 20 to 30 years and get my CCNA again and really kind of dig into it with the knowledge that I have now.
Hmm.
So, speaking on that, I get the idea why you want it or why you got it was to make sure you yourself can know that you know what you know. But what
Hmm.
is it that you don't know that you don't know? And really, what that means is how confident are you about your job outseek or your job your job approach and actually obtaining a job with the CCNA cert. Like, how do you feel about that now that you have the cert? How do you feel about getting a job, and what does it mean to you? I don't know if that's like
Yeah,
clear, but that might be a broad. Go ahead.
I think that's. I think I follow what you're asking. So
Mhm.
it was definitely. Sorry, can you repeat that question again? I think I lost it. Lost.
Yeah, yeah, and that's what as I was saying it. So again, we have the CCNA certification. We got the
Yeah.
idea. Now you're doing the job hunting approach. How confident are you you're going to get a job? Like, how are you looking at these applications that you're applying for and trying to relate it to your experience and having the CCNA? What does job hunting look like for you? I guess that's another way to
Yeah.
put it.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah,
Gotcha. Yeah. So from so far, I feel pretty good having a CCNA. I think it definitely helps to stand out, especially in this field that you don't necessarily have to have like a college degree or anything like that, but just having that again, the stamp that shows that you have that base knowledge. I feel it definitely does help. As far as my job approach or job searching approach, I'm definitely looking in different places. I'm on LinkedIn constantly, just hearing and seeing what's out there and seeing what the next steps are, in
yeah,
terms of like what different businesses are asking for from like administrators or engineers in that particular role. And it definitely the CCNA to me carries a lot of the fundamentals that they're asking for. So a lot of things
yeah,
that I'm seeing, they're asking for people with knowledge of OSPF, IPv6, ACLs, knowing how to configure the command line, some things like Python as well, which I'm dabbling into right now,
yeah,
or other like scripting languages that I've been seeing on certain job description. So I just think that the CCNA certification kind of is positioning me to at least stand out in a tough job market right now, as we know.
yeah. Some people gotta, when you're getting on the router, you gotta know show BGP summary. You gotta show interface description display set, show
Mhm.
advertising route. Like, understand what you are on the router for in relation to the commands
Yeah.
that you can run. And of course, if you run into problems, you can always use question mark. But these are the
Hmm.
type of knowledge that as a network engineer, you kind of know your resources to be able to help you. So you
Yeah.
got the cert. And again, congratulations over and over and over. You know, to be transparent, I failed it my first time and I missed it by 1 point.
Mm.
And I sat there for a while because I spent like 6 months doing it back then. And in my 20s, with the lifestyle or the idea I had of a life, it really felt like I wasn't doing enough. I was doing too much playing. So I was like, how could I fail by 1 point? If I studied, that means, all right, I got to cut out hanging with all friends every time because
Yeah.
I'm not doing it. And when I passed it the second time, it really solidified in me that I knew the knowledge as much
Mm.
as when I'm applying for the jobs, just like you. But is there some kind of personal mission for you? Do you want to be a network engineer, or is it more like what you feel is a career choice for you? And I don't. The reason why I ask that is, as a network engineer and the ones that I've met in my path, and the reason why I love cybersecurity is because I made this knowledge personal. I
Hmm.
bought routers, and I configured them at home. I bought emulators. I even
Hmm.
tried to talk in it. And you know me, I love music. I even tried writing music and call it technological rap and all this stuff, a way to embody the practice. So is there a way that you embody this practice? Do you go back over any of your notes now that you've passed it? Do you review any of your questions? Or is it more so you're just waiting for the job to try to see how much of that you can apply? What's your
Yeah.
lifestyle looking like?
So the lifestyle portion, that's a really great question. For me, like similar to you, man, like to me, the most interesting thing about networking as far as studying was the hands-on portion.
Yeah.
The technical aspect and reading the book, it's not the most interesting topic. So to make it enjoyable for me, like I actually got the physical equipment. I
Nice.
actually went on eBay, got a router and switch. And then my cousin Earl, our cousin Earl, he gave me
Yeah.
some old routers and switches before, which I still play with.
Nice.
And even as far as using like network simulators like GNS3, the other day I was actually trying to set up on my MacBook, but MacBook is the M1 at least is like kind of
Yeah.
hard to dabble in that space. So I'm actually looking at just like an old, maybe $200 computer just to use
Like a
specifically.
Windows based PC, right?
Yeah, Windows
Yeah.
based PC
Hmm.
specifically for that purpose. So that's kind of how I'm going about just keeping that knowledge fresh and in my
Yeah.
mind. It's just really just being hands on, that just touching the equipment, playing with it, buying. I was in what's that store called? It's like this computer store, and I go there just
Fry's,
watching,
Best Buy,
not Best Buy, but it's like
Fry,
Mac. No,
or
it's
the MacBook store.
not MacBook. It's, I can't remember, man, but
Mm,
it's like this computer store. It's like kind of like heaven a little bit. Just walking in there, I'm looking at the different routers and switches.
yeah,
Um, Again, just getting real familiar with the equipment and just practicing those configurations still. Kind of
yeah,
how I choose to go about it, and it's also too like in further my knowledge, come again looking at the different job description, I'm seeing Python being a huge part of what network engineers do for
yeah. The
automation.
coding aspect.
So
Yeah,
yeah, so just going on, I went on Udemy and like purchased a Python course, and I'm working on that too. So to me, that's just kind of how I'm choosing to go about just furthering knowledge and just deepening that knowledge as well, and practicing the continuous learning.
yeah, yeah. And honestly, that's the phrase nowadays. Is that lifelong learning, continuous learning, finding
Hmm.
a way to embody the practice, like put it in your everyday activity. We are on our phone all the time, and we
Yeah,
do a lot of doom scrolling and somewhat. And there is activity into that, but being intentional with your practice for your tools, the Internet of Things, utilizing those tools as a resource and somewhat a leveraging tool for your own self.
yeah,
Now, I wouldn't be complete on this podcast if I didn't talk about artificial intelligence and Gen AI. So tell me about ChatGPT, or do you use that tool at all? Do you use any of those Dolly or anything in relation to networking? Do you talk to them often, or do you use them at all for
I
your
do.
networking? Mm,
Yeah, I do actually. I use it's a I use ChatGPT, and I also use the
mhm.
one from Anthropic. I forgot the name
Yeah,
of it actually.
yeah, me
So
too. Hmm.
those are kind of the two main ones I really use. But especially when I was studying for my certification, it came in very handy. So
Yeah.
if I'm going through certain concepts and I'm just not getting one thing, so I'll type in ChatGPT, hey, break this down for me. And
As if
so
I was five. Yeah.
exactly, exactly, and it
Yeah.
was so helpful so many times. Like these, especially these some networking concepts that were just just going over my head a little bit. And I was like, man, put it in Chat GPT, like you said, explain to me like I'm five. And
Yeah.
a lot of times that came in to be very helpful in just my process, and even just after the fact, like Chat GPT is it's almost like magic, dude. So it's
Yeah, no,
like,
they put a lot of shout out to everybody in the OpenAI company crew. You know, you've done, and I'm sure you know Sam Alter. You guys did Altman. You guys did a great work with ChatGPT. I don't know
yes.
if you're ever going to see this, but no, I definitely am an advocate of ChatGPT, and I've used some other tools as well that really helps me personally just feel like I'm talking to somebody. Like prompt engineering was a big thing on my plate last year. I took
Hmm.
on prompt engineering courses. I am a prompt engineer in my own mind as much in my own practice, but
Yeah.
having these tools, AI, Gen AI, in a way that it's not just recognizing patterns, it's also recognizing how to talk to me and understanding my language. It
Hmm.
really makes me feel like I'm always on the job or always in the environment of learning, like lifelong learning. So we have the books, you got the cert, you are you have the hardware, you use some of these software tools, you're getting these Windows based PC to kind of use emulators. Now tell me, what do you do outside of that, like, do you go for nature walks, or like how do you balance your life? I mean, because, and the only reason why I'm asking that, as a young engineer, you are about to take on the world. You're about to take over the world. You have at least minimum 20 years under your in your package ready to go. You can be the best employee to one company, or you can be the best brand for yourself along with that, so you may choose to leave a company, or something may happen and you take in that resource and that knowledge to kind of move forward. I'm just asking, along with all this knowledge, now that you've got certified, you're ready to go, you use LinkedIn often, and you kind of maybe send out a couple resumes a day, a week, like making sure you're somewhat intentional about your practice. What's your downtime? Do you go for bike rides? Do you go for walks? How do you help back kind of ease the mind, related to my first question of how's your mental health?
Yeah, yeah. I think that's a really great question, man, because
Mm,
a lot of times I feel like in the pursuit of our goals and just life in general, we kind of develop this tunnel vision. And even though it's like the hustle culture, like, yeah, just stay locked in 24/7, 365, it's just unrealistic. You know, we need that balance, we need that outlet. And so for me, how I do that is I consider myself like a gym rat. Like I'm
mm,
always like in the gym. Like I love to box, so I'm either doing boxing or I'm doing some kind of strength and conditioning workout, or I go for runs on the belt line over here in Atlanta or at the
yeah,
park. So for me, like I get active. I try to like live an active lifestyle. Again, you know, I try to like be in the gym or go for runs, or if it's just one of those days where I'm not really feeling like the gym or like going for like any intense or doing any intense workout, I go for
yeah,
a walk on the belt line. So
yeah,
for me, it's like I'm always finding that time to disconnect, especially after a long day. Like I have to have
yeah,
that, because if not, then you know burnout is a real thing, and it doesn't help if you're trying to be consistent at a goal. So I feel having that balance of just going to the gym or on a walk or even just hanging with family and friends as well
hmm,
are just some ways for me to like really disconnect.
yeah. It's got to be a balance, and I love that you're making that a priority. And you mentioned on the Beltline, living in ATL, there's a lot available for you just in regards of like outdoors. I mean, like the whole state is just a big tree, just a city of trees,
Yeah,
or a state of
yeah.
trees. So there's much outdoorsy aspect of your life that you can offer yourself instead of getting rid of or getting into that tunnel vision. I would say, this conversation is great. What I
Yeah,
really wanted to do was just give you your roses, man. Give you your petals. Give you your applause. Give you your respect. Give you your honor, because I am so proud of you as your relative, as your friend, and someone that's even aware of some of the goals you're accomplishing. This is huge. This is a big step in your life, and it could mean everything to you. I can't say it will mean nothing. I found myself trying to say that, but you won. You really won. And the more you put this into practice, the more you consider, just like you said, when you're looking at these jobs and you're understanding what are the requirements, you see yourself in it. When you get on these interviews, I will suggest, just talking with the person and kind of understand what is the expectation that they're asking for when it comes to the job. They can see your credentials, but what is it they want from the person each day? Asking them for an outline of the day-to-day activities or the day-to-day, what's the work life for this person, what do they do every day, or what's the expectation of them, because a
hmm,
lot of it, when it's outlined on paper, is really not what you're practicing on the job.
yeah,
So
for
having
sure.
that connection or that clarity in conversation is really important. And you are the brand. The last thing I'll say, man, again, you are the brand. I am so somewhat like beyond proud, man, because this podcast, what I do here, and I really love that the idea of people like yourself want to learn more, want to see this. This industry is only growing. Cybersecurity as an umbrella, with cloud security and even AI and Gen AI and tools that are inside that umbrella, is
Mm,
really still at the baby stage, still at the fundamental stage. We have at least 15 to 20 more years to kind of see the pros and cons of some of these tools and how we're going about it. And a lot of these companies need people like yourself who are willing to dedicate your self interest into an actual career path. So, thank you. Thank you so much for taking the time. I'll let you get back to the gym. For all the listeners and watchers, again, this is Becoming Cyber, the podcast that focuses on cybersecurity, artificial intelligence, Gen AI, and the Internet of Things. We just sat down with my cousin, one and only Romain Sinclair, recently just got his CCNA certification, kind of talked a little bit about his lifestyle and his approach. And I would say if you are on LinkedIn, inside the show notes, you'll have his LinkedIn page as much as mine. Let's get connected. Let's stay supported. Before we finish up, anything you want to share with the listeners or viewers, Romain, or anything
yeah.
for yourself you want to say?
Yeah, definitely. First of all, man, thank you for having me. I appreciate the conversation. You asked some really great questions, by the way, so thank you for that. And then, you know, again, throughout this whole process, you've been someone that I always picked your brain. I was like, hey, man. So for those who don't know, my reason for taking the certification was definitely Howard, right?
Mm,
You know, I went to him in the early stages and just like telling him what I was interested in doing, telling him what my goals were. and he made that recommendation, and it was a really great recommendation because after he did it, I found certain groups online that kind of reinforced everything he was saying. Like, hey, if you want to do X, Y, and Z, the best approach is to get this to take you to that level. And so, man, God
If
has
I
a whole
worked at Cisco, I'll hire you, dude. Like, like I'm such a, I don't know what that word is, like a big advocate for the fundamentals of network engineering and
yeah,
understanding the OSI model and the TCP/I
yeah,
model and the protocols involved. Sometimes you can get with companies, in my experience, that they don't even know layers 1 through 4. You know, they know everything above that. And when they have someone that has a deep interest and somewhat a strong knowledge in the basics, or I won't use basics, but fundamentals of physically connecting something and the hardware that it requires, all the way up to the network layer, even the transport layer, and dealing with protocols like BGP and
mhm,
understanding how the internet works as a network of networks, you're valuable, man. You are the asset, and in a lot of ways, you become the supported backbone. So if you're willing to take on that path and willing to find some humility in yourself and learning how to communicate with people and understanding them from their perspective and
mhm.
looking at it like a cross-functional supportive team or approach, you'll
Yeah,
win. You win. If you're intentional with your practice, you win every time.
yeah,
So
yeah.
thanks so much, Romain. Once again, this is Becoming Cyber, and I'll be back next week. Bye
All
for
right.
now.
Thanks, guys.